Good morning and happy Friday. Thanks so much for starting it with us here for Sunrise Extra. Whew, made it to Friday.
I'm very ready for my nap this afternoon. You don't understand how excited I am for my nap this afternoon.
I was going to ask if you had fun plans for the weekend, but it sounds like that's it.
My plans will involve a lot of cleaning and organizing and potentially painting. So.
It's so funny how that becomes a weekend when you're an adult. Before it was always like, no, I want to go out and do this and that, and now it's let's take care of responsibilities.
Yeah, adulthood is not always the best hood, but we are in it right now.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
It is. For those of you heading out and planning for the weekend, we are talking about the heat. That will be the big topic of conversation over the next couple of days. I'm fully prepared to be in Kroger and have everybody asking me about it. That's just fine. For those of you heading out this morning, we're in the 60s and the low 70s to start off the day. 76 at the airport in Louisville, 78 though here at Wave News downtown, 73 in PRP and New Albany. Well, it's 72 degrees for those of you in Fern Creek. Good morning. We now have the sun officially up over the horizon, a little bit of that haze, that fog off into the distance there, and we're going to keep an eye on some more of that patchy fog for the early morning hours. But as we get into the next hour to 2 hours, any fog across the region will quickly mix out. The radar picking up all the birds taking off this morning, so we're off to a pretty good start in that regard. They're on time as usual. We're also watching a couple of those clouds for those of you across portions of Kentucky. Over the next 12 hours, we're going to end up in the upper 80s and low 90s for your highs with some more of those isolated showers and thunderstorms trying to come our way. So the heat is really starting to ramp up today, and we're going to keep that around through the weekend. I'll talk a little bit more about those mid to upper 90s in our forecast eventually in my full forecast.
I'm so devastated because I had to watch my sister lay on that ground and take her last breath. I need help, and I need help now. Right now. Right now. Please, and I need answers for everything.
This morning, two different Louisville families are asking police to work quickly to find who killed their loved ones. In the span of 24 hours, two Louisville women were killed in separate shootings. One of them was pregnant. The other was shot and killed while walking her daughter to a JCPS bus stop. Rhodesia Williams' family says her children are traumatized, especially the 7-year-old girl who was walking with her mother when she was shot. The shooting happened Wednesday morning at the bus stop at 10th and Chestnut Street. Williams' family describes her as a caring woman, the life of the party, and someone who deserves having a community band together to help each other.
Be angry every day. Be proactive in your community. Be proactive in your neighborhood. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
LMPD is still searching for Williams' killer. They released a photo of the suspect in the case. If you know anything about this person, you are asked to call the anonymous tip line at 574-LMPD. Meanwhile, police are also looking for the person who shot and killed a woman in the Chickasaw neighborhood. Police say Jamia Offit was shot Wednesday night near Brothers Food Market on West Broadway and 41st Street. Her family says she was a mother of 3 kids, pregnant with her 4th. Investigators have not released any information about a suspect or motive. Offit's family says something needs to change.
They not only killed my daughter, but they killed my grandson. They killed my grandson as well. And now my grandbabies don't have a mother because of this nonsense.
City leaders say they will start holding neighborhood meetings to talk about youth violence. Councilwoman Tammy Hawkins says the first one is set for next Monday at 5 p.m. inside the YMCA on West Chestnut Street. The Commonwealth's attorney wants state lawmakers to give her more power to stop the violence. She's warning not just teens or kids with guns, but also their parents. Prosecutors say they're now looking at legal avenues to punish parents in addition to juvenile offenders. Commonwealth's attorney Jarena Weathers says right now her office is prosecuting 80 offenders younger than 18 as adults. She's asking the state legislature to draft and pass parental responsibility laws.
We, the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, the prosecutors of this city, is taking a stand and calling now for our legislators to help us draft and pass new legislation for parental responsibility that covers these cases of youthful offenders possessing guns they should not have.
Weather's comments come on the heels of families' demands to reduce violent crime. Right now, there are no facilities to hold juvenile offenders in Jefferson County. Metro Council members unanimously passed a new resolution targeting parents and kids' safety. It asks parents to be responsible for knowing where their children are and the activities they're doing. Councilwoman Barbara Shanklin filed the measure last week. Many of her peers argued action is urgent, especially considering what's happened this week.
This week, with 2 shootings at the same spot in my district, I've lost count of the number of parents that I've hugged, the number of kids I've talked to, the looks on the faces, the tears in the eyes, and the feeling of fear and desperation, and unfortunately in some cases resignation, that it's just not going to be any different. I think that we have to do everything we can do to make it different, to help those folks.
The resolution points to an existing city ordinance that sets a curfew for kids under the age of 18. New on Sunrise, there's a new person in charge of keeping Indiana schools safe. Governor Mike Braun says Julie Smith will serve as Indiana's first director of the Office of School Safety. Smith recently retired from the Columbus Police Department as a sergeant and previously oversaw the city's School Resource Officer Division. Smith is also a national instructor for the National Association of School Resource Officers. Governor Braun created the Office of School Safety as part of his public safety agenda. Be there or prepare to explain why you're not. Indiana lawmakers say for too long, kids have missed too much class time, and now new rules will hold both students and their parents or guardians more responsible. WAVE News reporter Rob Wells joining us now with a closer look. Rob.
Olivia, good morning to you. This is some big changes. It's all part of Senate Bill 482. It focuses on addressing chronic absenteeism and student discipline in Indiana schools. The bill aims to improve data collection and reporting related to student absences, as well as to revise policies regarding excused and unexcused absences and attendance conferences. It stops schools in Indiana from expelling or suspending students due to chronic absenteeism. The bill mandates schools create a list of chronically absent students categorized by race, grade, English language proficiency, and eligibility for free or even reduced price lunch. The data is reported to the Indiana Department of Education to better understand the causes of chronic absenteeism. Indiana education leaders say it's a step they feel will only help with students' overall education and progress, no matter what grade.
Kids were sick, we wanted them to obviously stay home. But again, I think habits form with anything that we do. And so when people get out of the habit of being on time and or coming to school, that's a huge thing that can happen, and you can get bad habits develop very quickly. So I think the biggest thing we're trying to stress to our folks is we want that communication, that streamlined communication when they are having issues.
Senate Bill 482 takes a more proactive approach to addressing chronic absenteeism in Indiana schools by focusing on data-driven solutions and a shift away from punitive measures for students facing attendance challenges themselves. In the meantime, the new Senate bill requires a public school to hold an absentee attendance conference not later than 10 days after the student's 5th absence. Educators are hoping this helps set students up for more success as another academic year begins. Rob Wells, WAVE News.
Thank you, Rob. A man is dead more than 2 weeks after a Jeffersonville home exploded. The Jefferson County, Kentucky coroner says 53-year-old Patrick Grimes died from septic shock. He was one of 5 people inside the home on Washington Way when it exploded last month. A friend of the victims wrote online that 2 more family members are still in the hospital. The other 2 who were hurt in the blast were able to leave the hospital. Investigators say a buildup of gas inside the home caused that explosion. Coming up on Sunrise Extra, Texas Roadhouse making a major commitment to Louisville. More on the multi-million-dollar investment after the break. A criminal case against a man who police say kidnapped a family and then robbed a Louisville bank is now taking a new step forward. The Jefferson County Commonwealth's Attorney's Office says Armand Langford was indicted on several charges, including kidnapping, assault, and robbery. Police say Langford held a mother and her 2 children at knife point last week. Investigators say he forced the mother to drive him to a PNC bank in Shelbyville on Shelbyville Road that he robbed and then injured the woman. He was arrested after an hours-long manhunt in St. Matthews. Before the crime spree, Langford was let out of prison just months into a 14-year sentence for a string of robberies in 2021. A judge granted him shock probation because of severe mental illness. Prosecutors say if Langford is convicted of the kidnapping charges, he faces a maximum penalty of life in prison. Over the last week, a number of businesses have been targeted on the same Beachmont street. Vandals have hit at least 4 businesses along Woodlawn Avenue between 3rd Street and Southern Parkway. Storefront windows have been smashed with bricks and rocks. LMPD records show 16 reported acts of vandalism over the last 5 years. The owner of a salon says she's looking at creative ways to keep history from repeating itself.
I mean, I'm pissed off about it because then I came to work the next day and they threw a rock through Annie's window. I'm just gonna have to do something where there's just not gonna be a window to break.
LMPD officials did not provide any information on possible suspects. That owner, though, has set up a GoFundMe to help cover the costs of those repairs. A lawsuit and an investigation into people in the country illegally paying to get driver's licenses could lead to new laws in Kentucky. Governor Andy Beshear says the now fired employees who issued those licenses were hired to work for the Transportation Cabinet through a temp agency. Nearly 2,000 licenses tied to the investigation have now been revoked. Senator Aaron Reed says there needs to be legislation passed to address this and other issues with regional offices.
My idea really is that we bring it to the county clerks. You know, I feel like the county clerk has the most symbiotic relationship with the Transportation Cabinet.
Governor Beshear says once the investigation is complete, any and all facts will be shared with the public. Right now, leaders in southern Indiana are considering a new tax that would help pay for road improvements. Floyd County Council leaders are considering enacting a wheel tax on registered vehicles in the county. An excise tax is a broad indirect tax, one that's often built into the price of things. The minimum tax is $7.50 per vehicle. Some cities around Indiana, like Bloomington and South Bend, have already been using wheel taxes. Local leaders argue the tax money could be used to make improvements.
There's been concern about, frankly, a new tax coming up. You know, anytime a new tax comes in, it never seems to go away and it only seems to go up.
While the council did not reach a formal decision at a meeting this week, they plan on bringing the item back up at their meeting on August 25th. Texas Roadhouse is doubling down on its commitment to stay right here in Louisville. The CEO announced the company will be buying the buildings that house the Texas Roadhouse corporate headquarters and restaurant support center. The company just had its most successful quarter in Texas Roadhouse history, topping $1.5 billion in revenue for the first time ever. Texas Roadhouse officials say none of this would have been possible without their founder, the late Kent Taylor.
His simple dream of having 10 restaurants has grown to 3 brands and over 800 restaurants worldwide.
Those 2 buildings are located on Dutchman's Lane, and there's nothing better than a hot Texas Roadhouse roll, but something hotter than that, this weather we're dealing with, Tawana.
Yeah, you might as well just bake them outside at this point, the way that we're going to be hot this weekend. We still have the stationary front across the region this morning, and we're watching some clouds south of that, but overall, most of us are starting off the day with some sunshine. We're also keeping an eye on a little bit of that patchy valley fog showing up in some spots anywhere from portions of Adair County all the way up into Lawrence County in Indiana, getting in on the patchy fog, but thankfully it is not incredibly dense across the region. That's good news. The sun is now over the horizon. You can see some of that haze and fog there off into the distance on our SkyTrack camera, as we are seeing temperatures right now sitting at 76 degrees at the airport, with that dew point in the upper 60s and low 70s across the region, just exactly where your actual temperatures are for those of you outside of the Louisville metro. Once we get into later on this afternoon, we are going to be talking about those highs returning to the upper 80s and the low 90s. Now, a couple of isolated showers and thunderstorms are going to be possible. I certainly cannot rule that out. However, as we've seen for the past couple of days, most of us will just be hot and dry. And then we keep things warm and muggy getting into the overnight hours, returning to the 60s and low 70s for lows then. Here is your 10-day. Tomorrow, mid-90s for your highs, keeping a lot of the same on Sunday. Now, keep in mind, while humidity will drop slightly over the weekend, we can still easily see that heat index over 100 degrees for not just Saturday and Sunday, but into the beginning of next week. So please make sure you're taking care of yourselves, check on your neighbors, and do not forget the pets as we deal with this heat as well. Then we get into next week. And by Wednesday, we'll be really craving some rain and we'll be craving some cooler temperatures. And that is when a cold front will arrive, gradually sinking to the south. How quickly it moves to the south will be dependent on how quickly Tropical Storm Erin, which will most likely become Hurricane Erin later on today, moves to the north in the Atlantic. And we'll be watching that front moving through our area for Wednesday into Thursday of next week, bringing that much needed rainfall, but also helping to drop our temperatures down. Now, something to note for the end of next week, depending on how far south this front is, we can still keep a couple of downpours in our forecast. As of right now, I'm trending things on the drier side with highs in the 80s as we get towards the following weekend, but there's still a potential for that front to be in our region towards next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I haven't completely taken those rain chances out. It's just something to watch as we head over the next 10 days.
And we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks, Joanna. After the break, hundreds of athletes have made their way to Wave Country for more than 70 miles of racing over the weekend. Details on the Ironman course path and which roads will be impacted. That's coming up. This weekend, hundreds of athletes from across the country will be in Louisville to try to conquer a half Ironman. Today, the Ironman Village will be set up on the South Great Lawn at Waterfront Park. The Village is the center for athlete check-in, athlete briefings, and the merch store. But the race is set for Sunday. It'll start with a swim on the Ohio River. Athletes will then bike a 56-mile course to LaGrange and back. And finally, they'll finish the course with a half marathon run that will take them through Cherokee Park and finish on 4th Street. We have a list of roads that will be impacted by the event in this story on wave3.com. Happening tonight, Jammin' and Jeff is hosting a game night followed by a concert. You'll be able to play bingo, throw inflatable axes, shoot basketballs, and more. You can also get some food at various food trucks and enjoy cocktails from the Alcove. The games last from 5 to 7 p.m. at Jefferson River Stage and end the night by listening to some local live music. The bands playing tonight are Juicebox Heroes and The Palace. And this morning, artists artists will be putting the finishing touches on a new mural outside of the Fraser Museum. It's designed by Doe Anderson in partnership with the Fraser. The mural, promoting tourism, will display stories and objects found inside Kentucky's largest history museum. That includes KFC, the disco ball, the Corvette, the original Cabbage Patch doll, and the oldest Civil War monument. You can see the mural is on the side of the building on 9th Street. The Kentucky State Fair will be in full gear this weekend, and today there are several events to enjoy at the Fair and Expo Center. Today activities include Junior Dairy Cattle Costume Contest. Cows and their handlers will dress up and try to impress a panel of judges. That starts at 5 o'clock tonight at Broadbent Arena. The fair expects 600,000 people will come check out the rides and exhibits this year. You can get tickets to the fair for just $12 when you buy them online. The Texas Roadhouse Concert Series also starts today at the fair. Tonight's act is Sister Sledge featuring Sledgendary. There will be 8 more performances as part of the concert series. Those will start at 8 o'clock each day. And a reminder here, the State Fair will be enacting its minor in attendance policy for all weekend. Anyone under the age of 18 must be accompanied by a chaperone 21 years or older. Each adult can chaperone up to 6 kids at a time, and fair leaders say staff will be checking IDs. On Monday through Thursday, though, at the fair, that chaperone policy won't start until after 6 p.m. If you aren't up for any of those events today, that's okay, because today is National Relaxation Day. Whether it's work, family, or other commitments that keep our lives busy, taking an extended breather can be a significant way to reduce stress. It turns out National Relaxation Day wasn't the brainchild of an adult, but someone much younger. The idea was created by 4th grader Sean Moeller back in 1985. He told an interviewer that people shouldn't do anything of real value for the day, and I have to agree with him. What a great thing to create there, Sean. Wonder where he is these days. Thanks for joining us for Wave Sunrise Extra. Hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. We'll see you here on Monday.